Hi, okay, I'm going to be showing you how we use our new Hyper Edge composite laps. This is a VM500, so it's a 500 grit equivalent lap, and it actually gives a finer finish than the 500, and it's redressable. As you can see, the diamond goes from my fingernail up. That's all diamond in the composite lap, so these laps will wear with use, and you have a dressing stick that you'll be able to freshen them up when you need to. And they'll last for quite some time, and there are some things that you do need to know about their use. In particular, what I'm doing right now is I'm working with a semi-freeform amethyst. This is the water supply. I always use a sponge on the edge, and if you notice, the sponge has got angles cut in it to help throw the water down when it's spinning. If you don't do that to the sponge, when the water hits it, they shoot straight up in the air. So that's just a little tip about keeping control of the water supply. And now, if I didn't have that in here, just to show you, just go in the direction I'm going to be spinning, I'm always down very low on my lap, but if I get right to there, see how the water's shooting off the machine? Well, with the sponge in here, let me show you what happens. Now, probably right about there, which is 3/4 of my lap speed for the amount of water that's coming down here. And if you need to go fast, you pull this over here, and you can, no water. Okay, these laps are designed to work at a little higher speed, though you can use different. As you can see, it cuts very quickly. You can add a little bit more pressure, but the key here is the amount of water that you're flowing. Now, I'm flowing quite a bit. For the speed I'm going, I can turn that down to about there. That's probably the average water flow. Always profile a stone before I cut the bottom. So what I'm doing is I'm actually making my 90-degree cuts in here and giving myself a girdle to start with, a girdle line. And then I create my facets from the girdle line to the point. And this way you maximize your material. But you can see how even that, this is a 500. You can see how nice a finish. It gives a finish like 1,000. Pretty much, I would say, with the way the Hyper Edge laps work, is whatever the grit size is described on the lap, which is a VM500, it actually produces more like an 800 to 1,000 grit finish, but still cuts at the speed of a 500 grit lap, which is slightly coarser than the 6. I always push at the stone. I don't push from here. I don't push from here. The weakest bond is the bond of the dot to the stone. You always push at the stone, at least that's what I always do. So I am putting a bit of pressure on here, but you don't want to put too much pressure. Yeah, when I use the target dot, I offset this slightly to one side because there was a nasty inclusion I wanted to get out. And that's one of the things you do with your target dot, is you center it first to find out where you are in dead center, or before you put it down on the target dot, if you know some inclusions that need to be cut out, you want to cut away more of that side but still keep everything else in line. And that's what I did with this particular piece. Now you'll notice every once in a while I'll go like this with the lap. That helps flush any way of the swarf coming off the stone. Now, one of the beauties of the way the system's set up is this Ultratech base has got a new R&D consultant's tapered roller bearing setup in it, so I can put as much pressure as I want on this lap without fear of it flexing or deflecting to one side, which ball bearings would do, which is typically the standard fare of most laps. The Hyper Edge technology laps are at higher speed with a good water flow. You can actually add a little more pressure to help the cutting until you get to where you need to be in the center. Oh, when you put a stone down on one of these laps, since it is a composite lap and it doesn't have a hard bond like a plated lap does, you want to don't just push it down on the lap. You can actually gouge the lap. So you got to be very careful with that. So what you do is you just lightly touch the lap and ever so lightly bring it out to start the facet, and I'm hardly putting any pressure on that until I get a facet started. As you can see, it's going on right here. Once the facet starts, then you can start adding more pressure. But initially you want to be very gentle for that point that's going to touch the lap. You give the lap a chance to cut the facet. So my tone is solid, my numbers are 0. And then if I go back to the other side, there's going for the same thing. if you look, dead on. It's dead on. That's how the system works very well. And a very sharp, flat facet. So that establishes a girdle thickness line down to here. Now I don't change the mast height. I gotta make the complement 2 facets on the facet. It's huge. And this lap is just cutting up like the stones like this. This is the 500. Very, very useful lap for doing most of your cutting. The 250 is really for a lot of removal, but you can get by on preformed stones even of this size with the 500. Up to see my dial. And this is just to show you that's the facet that's making the tone. So this one's going to come down to there. And let me just get it in there perfectly. And now I'm going to go to this one without even looking at it, just working for the tone and our system for angle stop. Go to the other side to make sure it's there. And as you can see, yeah, 2 facet speed. Got it? But as you can see, how quickly and how beautiful the finish is on these facets for a 500. It's nice. And we'll just wipe that off. You can see very quickly the laps are incredible. Speed things up. This lap does work a little better when it's at a higher speed. And we're going to go now. Right, so now this is gently at first. Let's see where I am. Huge this facet is. I mean, other laps would be slowing down to the crawl by now, but this is just keeps cutting. So I'm pretty much there. I've just got a little bit more to do. So I put it back to the lap just like before. See where I'm going. Now look at this is a very free dial. I mean, it moves at the slightest motion when it's in contact. Just to show you the lap again. Barely a flutter. Of course, out towards the edge you'll get any kind of flutter. It's going to be out the edge, but the inner portion of the lap is very smooth. Now this lap has been used quite a bit. When you get a brand new fresh lap, it's dead flat. Over time, you may wear a little bit of spot out, but that's the nature of the lap. It's like a sintered lap, but a little softer. And as a matter of fact, it's a softer feel to the stone because it gives you a much smoother fit. You see, there's my water supply. Pretty steady drip. And the laps have an affinity for water. They actually get wet. They absorb a little water and the porosity of the lap. Which helps in the cooling or flushing of the lap. You gotta realize I've cut on this one particular lap here, even though it's a new version and the latest and the greatest, I've probably cut couple dozen stones on this lap already. I think I dressed it just once. And you really want to be, you don't really need to dress these laps all that much. As a matter of fact, you can overdress them. That would be, what I mean by overdressing is you're wearing out the lap with the dressing block that you don't need to. They establish a certain cutting fineness once they've worn in. I mean, initially they'll be a little coarse, and then they wear in very rapidly. And then they run on a consistent cutting and finish, and that's what you want to do. If you're working on stones that tend to want to glaze the lap, well, maybe you might have to go in there and touch it up, but I would say probably don't. What I'm going to do here, normally I would just start faceting, but I wanted to show you what the other laps work like as far as the hyper edge laps. And this is a 500, and I'm going to go to the 1500 just to show you a pre-polish. And this is quartz. So one of the things you do want to do is you want to get your sponge and flush the water like crazy on this lap. I gotta look at my container. Make sure I have enough for this demonstration. Yeah, I run from a 5-gallon water supply to a 5-gallon drain. I use a spring water, a 5-gallon spring water container, which I got from Home Depot. And this way I have plenty of water to work with at all times. And the very important step is spin dry your laps. You must spin dry your laps. And as you watch, it'll only take a second. Now the lap, here it goes, it's starting to dry out. And you just let it go. And of course the edge. And that's fine. And so now, you take this off. Again, my system's a little different from others out there. And there's this little Altem, is it? Altem washer that we supply with your lap. So you have a... But there's the surface of the lap. And that's a beautiful 500. Now this is obviously an area that doesn't really get hit too much with grinding, but that's pretty much the original finish. This is the finish that you get as you use it.